The day started with an unexpected WeChat friend request from John, Emily's first love. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the screen.
Michael, we have a class reunion today. Could you please take care of Liam?
Emily wore a long green halter dress, looking exceptionally beautiful as she adjusted her hair in front of the mirror.
Bye.
She left in a hurry, not waiting for my response. At noon, I saw a post from John on his moments. The photo showed a familiar back at a place Emily and I often visited. The caption read, "Long time no see." My heart skipped a beat.
It's just a class reunion.
I opened the news app, scrolling down distractedly until a breaking news headline caught my eye: a fire broke out at a cafe, casualties unknown. The location was exactly where John had checked in.
Oh no, Emily is in danger!
After entrusting Liam to Margaret next door, I rushed to the scene. The fire was raging, with flames threatening everyone inside. Ignoring the bystanders' attempts to stop me, I soaked my clothes and dashed in.
Emily! Emily, where are you?
Amidst the smoke, I searched inch by inch but found no trace of her. Rescue workers found me and led me out. Outside, Emily lay weakly in John's arms, coughing.
Let go of her!
I rushed over, pushing John away and supporting Emily with one hand.
Emily, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?
Michael, it was John who saved me. You shouldn't have treated him like that.
She broke free from my hold, stumbling towards John.
John, are you okay? Michael misunderstood you. I apologize on his behalf.
I'm fine, but you, Emily, must have been terrified. It's my fault for asking you out today.
Michael's hand is injured. You should check on him.
Emily looked over at my bleeding arm, a hint of concern in her eyes. But when she saw the blood at the corner of John's mouth, her concern for me turned into worry for John.
Michael is fine. You're more seriously hurt. Let's take you to the hospital first. Liam needs someone to look after him. He has to go back.
I clenched my fist, feeling the pain in my arm and my heart. She decided I didn't need her with just one sentence. Emily supported John as they walked past me.
Didn't you say it was a class reunion?
Yes, John and I are classmates. Is there a problem?
I released her arm. John turned to look at me, a smirk on his lips. They took a car to the hospital, and I went home alone. On the way, I remembered our wedding anniversary was approaching. Michael and Emily stood at the entrance of the restaurant, their conversation tinged with tension.
Didn't you say it was a class reunion?
Yes, John and I are classmates. Is there a problem?
Emily turned her head slightly, answering calmly. Michael couldn't forget, even if it's just the two of them, it's still a class reunion. He released her arm with no room for doubt.
Seems like you understand now.
John turned to look at Michael, a smirk on his lips. He silently conveyed his victory, showing that in Emily's choice, Michael had lost. They took a car to the hospital, leaving Michael to go home alone. On the way, Michael saw Peter's jewelry store holding an anniversary sale on gold jewelry and suddenly remembered that their wedding anniversary was approaching.
Didn't you say it was a class reunion?
Yes, John and I are classmates. Is there a problem?
Emily turned her head slightly, answering calmly. How could I forget? Even if it's just the two of them, it's still a class reunion. With no room for doubt, I released her arm. John turned to look at me, a smirk on his lips. He silently conveyed his victory, showing that in Emily's choice, I had lost.
Shall we go, Emily?
They took a car to the hospital. I went home alone. On the way, I saw Peter's jewelry store holding an anniversary sale on gold jewelry, and I suddenly remembered that our wedding anniversary was approaching. After sending Liam to the funeral home, my body began to feel transparent. I understood that my time was running out. I wouldn't be able to personally lay Liam to rest. My life might end tonight, so under the cover of darkness, I wanted to take one last look at the world that I loved yet caused me endless pain. Unconsciously, I walked to the riverside. The night wind rose, the clouds scattered, and the full moon hung in the sky. The shops along the river were brightly lit, and small boats were still sailing on the water, creating ripples. Ordinary yet bustling. Memories surged like a tide, and I remembered when I first met Emily.
My childhood wasn't very smooth. After my mother gave birth to me, she suffered from postpartum depression and didn't care for me. She and my father favored my brother over me. So, I was left with my grandparents. Grandma's simple words still resonate with me.
If they don't want you, I do.
Those 6 words made me feel love for the first time. I believed that my grandparents' love could fill the void left by my absent parents, but the kids in kindergarten didn't think so. Throughout kindergarten, my parents never visited. Some kids said I didn't have parents and was poorly raised. At first, it was one child, then more and more joined in to criticize me. I tried to explain, my face turning red, but I was outnumbered.
He has parents, they're just not here right now. When you needed help, he helped you. So why are you making things difficult for him now? We should listen to the teacher and help each other.
Children are easily swayed and convinced. Moreover, she was the acknowledged little princess, so her words carried weight, and they stopped bothering me. Gradually, this incident was forgotten by everyone, including her. She didn't remember standing up for me, nor did she remember me. But I always remembered how she protected my fragile self-esteem as a child. So later, when she said her target was me and proposed to me, I agreed without hesitation. Before she truly got to know me, I had already etched her image into my bones. Enough, reminiscing is exhausting. I'll stop here. The host is about to be erased. Countdown, 3. I crossed the railing, turned around, and spread my arms, falling into the river with gravity. A little girl a few meters away suddenly shouted.
No.
She reached out, probably trying to save me. I'm sorry, I thought, at the end of my life, I'm causing you pain because you couldn't save me. When I opened my eyes again, I didn't feel the pain I had imagined. But wasn't I already gone?
Host, those who are erased don't feel pain, and you're now in a soul state.
I looked down and saw my body floating in midair. I was indeed a soul. The girl was still squatting and crying. I floated to her side and poked her shoulder. Don't cry. My departure was inevitable. It's not worth being sad over. You should be happy and live well.
She didn't stop crying. I realized I hadn't gotten used to being a soul yet. So I stayed quietly by her side. A stranger was sad about my departure. What about Emily? Would she be sad? Would she regret it? Even if just a little. I drifted back home. Everything was as usual, only lonelier, lacking the previous vitality. The night revealed my despair. Perhaps driven by an obsession, I drifted to John's house. The party was over, and Emily hadn't returned home, so she must be here. John was lying on the sofa, holding a phone, talking to someone on the other end.
Is it true that Sophia has passed away?
Seemingly getting the confirmation he wanted, he hung up the phone, leaned back, and with a smug smile, muttered to himself.
Michael, you might surpass me in other matters, but in love, you will always be my defeated opponent. Without Sophia as a bond, do you think Emily will stay by your side?
Is that so? I answered softly, though he couldn't hear me. But I've heard that the living can never compete with the departed. Especially when it's a deceased daughter and husband.
Why are you sitting up? You've had so much to drink, is your head still spinning?
Emily walked over with a glass of water, her eyes filled with stars as she looked at John, forming a small field of happiness that I no longer fit into. She walked right through me, and I dissipated like a wisp of smoke, only to reassemble. John's furrowed brow immediately relaxed, and he smiled warmly.
Thank you, Emily, but don't you think it's not right to leave them at home like this?
Emily paused for a few seconds, then continued to wring out the cloth and placed it on his face.
It's fine. Michael knows I'm just here as a friend to take care of you. He will take good care of Liam.
John removed the cloth and held Emily's hand.
No, Emily, look at me. Are we just friends? You still love me, don't you? If it weren't for being forced to go abroad back then, wouldn't we be the ones married with children now?
Emily froze, then pulled her hand away.
John, you're drunk. I'll make you some hangover soup.
She turned and walked into the kitchen. John followed her, hugging her from behind. Visibly, Emily's body stiffened. She stared straight ahead, not daring to turn around.
I was wrong, Emily. I should have stood my ground back then, so we wouldn't have been separated. Let's get back together, okay?
His tears fell onto Emily's clothes, and she turned around, gently wiping them away. Looking into his eyes, she spoke softly but firmly.
It's all in the past. I have a family now.
I don't care about your past. I'm the one who truly loves you, Emily.
I was completely enraged, aiming a punch at John. It missed, my hand passing through his body without causing any harm. As a spirit, I didn't even have the right to vent my anger.
Michael is a good man, a good father, but
you don't love me, or not enough. After making the hangover soup, Emily picked up her coat, intending to go home.
I need to go home. Liam is waiting for me.
John held her back, just like I once tried to hold onto her, and just like I failed to do so. The sorrow in his eyes mirrored the countless times I had been left behind by Emily's choices. I followed Emily out the door. She said she was going home to Liam, but Liam was gone, and so was our home. When I got home and turned on the lights, there was no Liam running sweetly towards his mom. And I wasn't there either. I had already cleaned up the mess on the floor before leaving, placing the broken ceramic dolls representing our family back in the display cabinet. They shouldn't lose their chance to be admired by the world. I squatted down, grabbed a handful of the cake smeared on the floor, and shoved it into my mouth, mixed with tears. They say cream is sweet, but I thought it was the bitterest cake I had ever tasted. Those moments of silently digesting the pain slowly faded before my eyes. All I could see was Emily running through the rooms, searching for Liam. She opened her phone, typed a lot of messages, one after another, all sent to me. Maybe she was asking where I had taken Liam. She closed her phone and paced anxiously in the living room, glancing at her phone from time to time. When there was no reply, she called my phone. The ringtone sounded, followed by the automated voice, "Sorry, the number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later." Several calls in a row, all the same.
Michael, what do you mean by not answering my calls or messages? Where did you take Liam? I'm back now. Stop playing these childish games and bring Liam back quickly.
3 hours later, Emily's tone softened.
I'm begging you, can you please reply to me? I'm really worried about Liam. If I don't see her again, I'll go crazy.
The voice message was sent, but there was still no response. I wanted to bring our daughter back too, but she had already gone ahead of me, resting peacefully underground. As dawn approached, Emily seemed to remember something and ran out frantically. She stopped in front of her favorite cake shop and sat on the steps. When the first light of dawn appeared in the eastern sky and the day gradually brightened, the shop owner arrived.
Can I order a wedding anniversary cake, the fastest possible?
The shop owner's hand paused while unlocking the door, looking at Emily incredulously, perhaps wondering why someone would be so obsessed with her craft.
Ordering a wedding anniversary cake so early in the morning, you must be a very considerate wife. Your husband is very lucky to have you.
Lucky? I didn't feel that way. There were moments when I did, but every time we got close to happiness, Emily would tear it apart.
Really? Then why did he leave with Liam?
Holding the cake, Emily rushed back home. She pressed the voice message button again.
Michael, I bought a very big cake. Can you bring Liam home now? Let's celebrate our 5th anniversary.
Her message box remained empty. As if reaching her limit, she threw the cake down, and emotions of destruction, rage, and release took over her body. She first knocked over a vase, which shattered on the floor with a crisp sound, then she threw everything she could reach to the ground. Fragments, cushions, books, all piled up on the floor, bearing her wrath. The commotion attracted Margaret from next door. She stood at the door, her face full of worry.
Emily, don't be too sad. You and Michael are still young. There will be more children.
What did you say? What happened to Liam?
Alas, Michael probably didn't dare to tell you, afraid you couldn't handle it. Liam's passing was too tragic, falling from the building and then being run over by a car. That poor child.
Margaret shook her head and left. Hearing the word passing clearly, Emily's tears fell instantly. She grabbed Margaret, her voice choked.
Where is Liam?
If you go to the funeral home now, you might still see her.
Margaret patted her hand gently to comfort her. Emily immediately stumbled out. But it was too late. Even if she went now, she wouldn't be able to see Liam's body. I had said it before, if not seen then, it would be never seen again. Under the guidance of the funeral home staff, she saw Liam's urn. When the small box appeared before her, she collapsed, leaning against the wall.
Am I the culprit? It's my fault. I shouldn't have left you alone at home. Mommy was wrong. Please don't leave me.
As she carried the urn out, her face was pale, her eyes vacant, and her hair disheveled. She looked nothing like a young woman. She walked down the street, ignoring the curious glances from passers-by. Holding the urn close to her face, she sang the lullaby Liam used to sing to her. Sadly, the old song remained, but the person was gone. The phone in her pocket rang, muffled, but Emily ignored it. It wasn't until the 4th ring that she stopped by the roadside and answered the call.
Hello. Is this the wife of the phone owner?
Michael, haven't you had enough? Liam is gone. I don't have the energy to deal with your games. Are you done with your disappearing act? Let me tell you, I will never forgive you for the rest of my life.
Hello, this is David from the Star City Police. The phone owner was just retrieved from the river, and we are confirming the cause of death. Can you come to identify the body as soon as possible?
Emily opened her mouth but couldn't make a sound. Following the given address, she arrived at the riverside, where a crowd had gathered. Pushing through the crowd, she saw the police tape, and inside the tape was my body. At first, seeing the person lying on the ground, she shook her head, saying it couldn't be me. But as she got closer and confirmed it was me, she turned and let out a bitter laugh before suddenly collapsing to her knees, covering her face and sobbing uncontrollably. So, you would be sad about my passing? I thought you wouldn't care, at least not enough to cry. I always thought seeing this scene would bring me some relief. But it didn't. Instead, it felt like 100-pound stone was crushing my heart, making it even harder to bear.
Just one day, why? Why did everyone leave me?
Just one day. A day can be as short as 24 hours. Sure enough, John was already waiting for her at the door.
Emily, we can have another child. Liam wouldn't want to see you so sad.
No, Liam won't forgive me. Michael is gone too.
Hearing the news of my passing, John appeared shocked and saddened, but as he held Emily in his arms, he couldn't suppress the smile on his lips. With his rival gone, he must be very pleased.
Wait, how did you know Liam was gone? I never told you. Did you know all along? You.
Emily clutched her chest, gasping for air. Her asthma was acting up.
The medicine is in the side pocket of the bag, but it was useless. No one could hear me.
Emily kept pointing to the beige bag on the other side of the sofa, but John was clueless, searching aimlessly in the direction she pointed.
You know you have asthma. Why don't you carry your medicine with you?
Because as long as I was there, she would never be in danger. Emily collapsed to the ground, crawling towards the bag. Only then did John understand, taking out the medicine for her.
Emily, you really need to change this careless habit. If you're going to be my supportive partner, you can't make me worry about you.
For the first time, I saw a clear look of disgust on Emily's face towards John.
There's no need. I won't be with you.
But you only have me now, don't you? Only I can protect you. Who else would want a divorced woman like you? Only I still care about you.
Emily stared at him coldly.
John, do you think I'm really that naive? Do you think I haven't investigated you? Millions in debt abroad? Coming after my money? Everything I had was transferred to Liam. Now that she's gone, you won't get a penny. I used to consider our past relationship, but now, it seems unnecessary.
She raised the fruit knife in her hand to John's neck, his face turning pale as his schemes were exposed. After John left, slamming the door behind him, Emily slid down against the door, curling up and burying her head in her arms, her shoulders shaking. A knock sounded behind me. I floated outside to see it was the police. They handed Emily my personal belongings, explaining that the cause of death ruled out foul play, then left. I floated beside Emily, wanting to destroy the phone in her hand. It held the proof of my love for her. Emily turned her head slightly, answering calmly.
Didn't you say it was a class reunion?
Yes, John and I are classmates. Is there a problem?
How could I forget? Even if it's just the two of them, it's still a class reunion. With no room for doubt, I released her arm. John turned to look at me, a smirk on his lips.
Seems like Emily made her choice.
They took a car to the hospital. I went home alone. On the way, I saw Peter's jewelry store holding an anniversary sale on gold jewelry, and I suddenly remembered that our wedding anniversary was approaching. Emily ran to the flower market with wilted flowers in her arms. She carefully selected various flowers and headed home with a large bouquet. She lowered her head to sniff the fragrance.
I bought new flowers. Michael will definitely like them. He will forgive me.
The truth was, Michael's heart remained unmoved. New flowers or old, it was all in the past. While crossing the street, Emily was so focused on the flowers that she didn't notice the approaching car. By the time she realized, she was frozen in fear. The car hit her, sending her flying 2 meters away, and the flowers scattered everywhere. Her hands were scraped and bleeding, but she seemed oblivious to the pain, only concerned with picking up the flowers. Blood dripped onto the flowers, and she tried to wipe it away, but it only spread more.
Miss, let me take you to the hospital for a checkup. I'll replace the flowers for you.
No, without the flowers, Michael will be angry. He won't like me.
Emily crawled to the trash can, picking up the flowers one by one. Then she went to a store and bought a stuffed doll, taking it home with her.
By the riverside, Michael saw Liam, perfectly fine, like a dream. Liam saw him too, shouting and running towards him.
Daddy!
Michael held her tightly, unwilling to let go. They walked hand in hand and reached the bridge, meeting Grandma.
You ungrateful grandson! I prayed every day for your return, hoping for your happiness, and here you are, coming down before this old woman.
I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm sorry I couldn't fulfill my duties while alive. I'm sorry for causing you worry.
Michael hugged Grandma tightly, even as she kept hitting his shoulder, his eyes filled with tears. The playful reunion brought comfort and joy. He turned and saw Emily with flowers and a doll, pushing through the crowd, searching.
Grandma, Liam, we will always be a family.
Grandma affectionately poked Michael's head in agreement. Liam looked up at him.
Daddy, next time I want to be your big sister.